Hey, Crispy Crew, welcome back to Crispy Cocktails, where we bring you the best drinks, the best conversations, and get crispy with leaders, coaches, mentors, entrepreneurs, and all around badasses making waves. If you're loving what we do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a sip of the action. And while you're at it, check out our website at crispycocktails.com for everything you need. Explore our flavors, find a retailer near you, browse our gallery, and get answers to your top questions. Before we jump in, don't forget to follow, share, and tag us while you sip. Now, let's meet today's guest. Cheers and get crispy. Hey, so I'm actually sitting here today with Sammy's sweetheart, Samantha Brown, who used to be the CEO of GoFast Energy Drink. You're also a military veteran, and you work for Crispy now, and you've done a lot of cool things. And it's so exciting to be here and talk with you and go over things because we worked together for a little while now. And I just know how good you are at getting things done, and you always keep a really good attitude, and you're like super good in business. And I know that, you've learned a lot of skills through the years, and you're still super young. And it's just an honor to, have you working with me. And a lot of things that I talk about too in our business is like the OQP method and only having quality people inside the organization, and you definitely fit that mold. So I appreciate you being here so much, and I just want to hear a little bit about your story.
For sure. Well, and first and foremost, thank you for having me too. I also feel honored to be here. One of my favorite things about getting to work with you is it feels like we're a part of a family business, and that really speaks to what I did in the GoFast realm too, since I worked with my family. And I feel like that has been such a motivational driving force for me to continue on in the business world, is to be surrounded by quality people such as yourself, my brother, who is also here with us.
Yeah, he's on one of our podcasts too,
Yeah.
Brian Sullivan.
That's my big brother.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool to sort of bring in the homies. I always want to bring the homies up with us too. So being able to create those types of spaces where we can allow that to happen and get everybody in on it is my favorite type of space to be a part of. So I feel really grateful to be here with you too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And one of the things that you do is being a general manager, and you do so well managing people. What are some of the things that you think of, or how do you manage people so well?
Oh, well, it started in the military. It's funny.
Let's go back to the beginning.
We'll go to the beginning. So I left for the military straight out of high school. I got in, and actually, very funny story, when I was in boot camp, I was given a leadership role while I was in boot camp, and I totally screwed it up. I screwed it up.
How long did it take you to get that leadership role?
It was one of those things where I feel like they just sort of cherry-picked people, like, hey, we're going to do this. You'll be the port side leader. You'll be the starboard leader for your berthing, XYZ, and you get like specific types of responsibilities that you're in charge of, and then you get people you're in charge of as well.
And by port side leader, you're talking the sides of the boat, right?
Right.
So port
yeah.
side would
Everything
be the left
in
side,
boot
right?
camp, yeah.
Yeah, because you were in the Navy, right?
Yes,
okay.
in the Navy. So in the Navy. Edit that out. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so we had people we needed to be in charge of, and I was assigned one of those roles, not because I had any standout moments. They were just sort of picking people to see how they would do under pressure, and I totally screwed it up. Almost immediately. It's because I didn't know how to talk to people appropriately. How to motivate them, how to speak to them well enough that you can listen without having to raise your voice, sort of a deal. And I think I was under the guise of being in the military, especially since we just got to boot camp, and the first thing they did was scream in our faces that was the way you were supposed to do it in the military. And so it took me time and space in that region to be able to learn that no, that's not the way you become a good leader, and it's definitely not what makes people want to follow you. And what I found through the military and the rest of my professional career is being able to motivate through example. So I take it upon myself to be the person who's constantly putting in the work. I'm the one that shows up. I'm the loyal person. I'm the person that's going to stay the extra hours if need be. I'll be the first one to volunteer to get something done that other people don't want to get done. And so through that, people would see my initiative and want to be on my team.
Yeah, I definitely like that mentality, because it's like no job should really be beneath you. Like, I always try to build a team atmosphere so that way, if anything needs to get done, and if people see trash on the floor, or if they have to wipe down tables, or if they have to go, sell product or whatever, we definitely have our main kind of areas of emphasis.
Sure.
But when it comes to work and being a good leader, I think good leaders really are part of pulling the business together in the right direction, rather than sitting back and pointing and saying this is the way that we need to go.
Right.
But it, like, having a combination of both, but being in the trenches, helping out, I think that goes a long way. And I think that's why a lot of people look up to you and think that you're a leader so much. So, and it's funny because I think too, we see leaders, or we're grown up, we see our parents, we see our teachers, and we kind of adopt some of their styles. And like with you being in the military, everybody's screaming, like going after things, and that's how they teach, and that's how they develop, soldiers. But that doesn't necessarily turn into being a leader, and so you had to find your own way.
Right.
And I think that that's super cool how you were able to find that, because I always think too, it's better to be positive, it's better to be in the business world and try to manage with empathy and understanding other people's side of the spectrum and what they're feeling and all that stuff. And so that's some of the manager style that I use as well. So it's cool that you've morphed into this positive, happy, really good manager and being honest with people as well. And I think that that's just translated really well. So that's good. So, so you got that leadership role in the military, and then where did it kind of take you from there?
From there, I started to get more responsibility when I was in the military as I grew as a sailor in my job. So for my job specifically, I worked as a sailor.
Yeah.
I worked in the crypto area of things. I was called a CTT, which is
but not cryptocurrency.
Correct. Yeah.
So what does
Or
crypto mean in the?
So there's different branches of cryptology in the military. Like there's linguists. My job is called a CTT. It was a cryptologic technician. Technical is what that comes out to. But basically, I was the first line of defense for a ship. So if we had any sort of missile threat or anything like that, it would be me who takes care of that sort of a threat.
Did you ever have to do that? Like,
you'd be surprised how often you kind of get called up, even if it's something that just pops up as a blip. Because another part of our job is being able to decode different signals because they can mask as different things. So like a fire control radar, which is something that you would use for a missile or something along those lines, can mask itself as like a commercial navigation radar. So one of our jobs is to break down the signals that are in our area and make sure that they are what they say they are. So you have to be really quick on your feet, and you have to know parametric values really, really well, be able to recall them instantly.
what are parametric values?
So parametric values, without getting too deep into it, are just like the different frequencies, the band of radar that they're operating on, things like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
When you're out at sea, I don't know if I could do that. I always thought about it too, and Veterans Day was just the other day. Like I had a lot of family that was in the military. My grandfather was in the Navy. He was a fighter pilot. My great-grandfather was in the Army. So it's just, I've always kind of wanted to follow in those footsteps, but I never did. So thank you so much for your service and doing all of that.
For sure.
And, and I know that when you left the military, did you immediately go into GoFast?
No.
Which is the energy drink?
I
So where
did
did you go
not.
from there?
From there, I had plans of finishing out school. My grand scheme was I was going to get my BS in biochemistry, but then I was going to go to law school so that I could get into patent law and work in the medical field doing patents. I don't know why that was my grand scheme, but that was what I had devised for myself at the time. However, upon getting out, I sort of had a mental breakdown. Like, it's really tough getting out of the military and coming back to the civilian world, especially after certain experiences that a lot of sailors have on their journey and career in the military. Sometimes when you come back to the civilian world, it feels really isolating. You feel very alone. Like, we speak in a different language than other people, and especially since I was a kid, like, I left right from school, went in, did my time, got out, still a part of the reserves, but it just felt like entering into a completely different world that I didn't know anything about anymore. So it took me a little bit to find my footing, and I made plenty of mistakes along the way. But one of the jobs I got into while I was figuring this out, I was going door to door, actually in your neighborhood. That was my territory, was all of the Highlands Ranch territory and Castle Rock area, selling CenturyLink. And that was my first real sales job, and probably where I stepped into being a real leader was in that job. So door-to-door sales is not for wimps. It's 100% not for wimps, because nobody wants you on their doorstep, and you're selling something that everybody already has.
Yeah.
The best thing I had at the time was Comcast sucks, go with CenturyLink for the most part. But instead of like being super focused on I need to make this sale, I was more focused on how I made somebody feel. So I would always have like a silly knock, like I had like the Mario knock for the door, do 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 do, or and then I just
That's good.
open up.
That's
with,
clever.
Yeah,
That's really good.
Yeah, and I'd open up with a joke, and as soon as I could get somebody to smile, they would at least listen to me for a second before they told me to get lost, or sometimes it would turn into an actual sale. And so it helped me build tough skin. It helped me deal with rejection. It helped me deal with failure and all of those things, and be able to get other people to deal with the same.
Yeah.
So I ended up making it to an assistant manager position there as well, because the management position, this is like literally a multi-level marketing scheme that I was a part of, essentially. But like the next thing, hitting manager means that you were opening up your own store and creating your own sales teams and stuff. So I made it to that point, and then I kind of got sick of it, and I moved back into software. I worked with a company.
For CenturyLink?
No, not for CenturyLink. So
Okay.
I got away from that totally, and
What made you decide to leave that
I was done being in the cold.
and being outside? So as an assistant
Yeah.
manager, and you said that's where you kind of blossomed as a leader. So would you still have to go out and knock on doors and pound the pavement and do all that stuff? And then did you have some people underneath you as well that you were trying to lift up?
Yeah.
And like you said, you got to be tough to do that job, to be a door-to-door salesman.
For sure.
And so I'm sure you probably went through a lot of turnover as well.
Oh my gosh, massive amounts of turnover for something like that. And like for that job specifically, you'd like bring in all of these interviewees, which is also where I learned how to interview people, and figure out their skills, strengths, and weaknesses, things along those lines, and determine who would be a good fit for me, because not everyone is a good fit for me, and vice versa. I'm not a good fit for everybody. And so that was a really good training ground for me to figure out who works well with me and how we can build a team that functions well together. But I would be in charge of about 15 different people, all different walks of life. And yeah, I would be with them. I'd be training them on how to go hit doors, how to make a sale, how to do all the paperwork, XYZ. And like, we came up with this, well, I didn't come up with this. The powers that be came up with this, like, an awards sort of base thing. So whenever we'd come back at the end of the night, if you made $100 in sales, you got to ring the bell. If you made over 300, you got to go bang the gong. And it was like, we'd turn the music up loud, it was a dance
Everybody
party.
get pumped up. You did that at the end of the day, or would you do that at the beginning of the day
We
too?
would do that at the end of the day. At the beginning of the day, we would have meetings where like we would go over our goals, so that we always had a set amount of goals. Like, this is what I want for my future, whether it's in this company or not. We supported whatever goal you had for yourself, built each other up, talked about ways that we could achieve those goals, like the step-by-step
cool.
things to get there. And it was motivational before we got out into the field. So we had that shining light at the end of the cold, dark tunnel of hitting doors in a territory that I was lucky, right? I was in the Highlands Ranch. That's a good territory to be in. Not everyone is in
Comcast world.
Ranch.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how long did you end up doing that for?
I did that for about 1.5 years before I moved over to Oil Decks.
Oil Decks, and then you
Decks.
worked into software. And before we get into that, I'm just curious, because I know in like some of the sales jobs that I worked in, were there any numbers that they would tell you? It's like, if we knock on 100 doors, then we'll talk to 15 people, and out of those 15 people, 5 will listen to you. Out of those 5, 2 will buy.
Exactly. The statistics of hitting doors.
What were the statistics?
I honestly couldn't rattle off the numbers of exactly what that was anymore.
Yeah.
That feels like a lifetime ago at this
Yeah.
point. But yeah, if you hit X amount of doors and you take this many no's, like eventually you'll get a yes. And that was
It's
the
all
thing.
a numbers game.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially for people who weren't necessarily the most personable at the door, like they relied heavily on those statistics, and they did play out.
Yeah. And they will, it's like the law of averages. They should, overall, if you hit enough, unless you do the job absolutely terribly,
Yeah.
then you should hit those numbers that they put out there, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you did it better with a nice smile and knocking on the door like Mario and getting people to, agree with you. So that's good. So what was the name of the company that you went to after that?
It's called Oil Decks.
Oil Decks. And you work software there.
I did, yeah. So I started in like tier 1 support sort of stuff, made my way up.
So on the phone?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Call center stuff for sure. But dealing with people's problems, and like we probably gathered some of my favorite stories. I had an amazing team in there. I actually miss them all the time. It was one of the best teams I've been a part of in our like support area. Hilarious. But like one of my favorite stories, somebody's on the phone talking to an older woman, and he asked her to open up a new window, and she's like, okay, but I don't see how that's going to work. And he's remoted into her computer, but he can't move it around, and nothing happens. And he goes, I need you to open a window. She goes, I did. It's really cold out there, though. So she just opened up the physical window in her room instead of the window on the computer for her browser. And so, as you might imagine, like, that sort of support can be a lot. It sure can be. And like dealing with people is just being customer facing. Like I've always been in customer facing roles.
What is it like? How is it different from being behind a telephone versus being face to face and dealing with customers?
It's harder because, especially for someone like me, like people comment on my smile every day. You know what I mean? Like it kind of puts people at ease, whatever. They know I'm in a good mood.
It's one of your assets.
Yeah, for sure. But it like kind of brings people, especially if they're ticked off for whatever reason, which in like a support realm, typically they are. That helps like de-escalate things a bit when they can see a smiling face and know that that's what's going on. But when there isn't a face to put to the voice behind the phone, it's a little more difficult to de-escalate situations. So I learned that in using my voice, I could kind of still make that come through, still change people's attitudes by being like, of course, I'm so happy to help you. What's going on? Like, walk me through it. Yes, that does sound frustrating, but we can get through this together. Using language in that way to be able to help people know that they're not alone. We can get through this. Let's knock it out.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the major key skills to being a good leader or managing people is having patience and staying calm. And that's one thing that you have to do over the phone. One of my old friends got fired. He was in a call center, I think for Dish Network, and that's in Colorado too, in their main hub. And he just could not take it with people being rude on the phone all the time, and then like having to solve problems when you can't see them. And so it is very difficult handling people and trying not to get emotional or too much into your feelings to have those types of things happen. So I applaud you for doing that and handling that. And so you started there, and did you move your way up in that company as well?
I did. So I eventually made it to a project management position with them, basically with integration, bringing people in, new clients in, and working with the sales team and the dev team to bring all of those pieces together. But I was only there for a very short time before I got the phone call that changed my life.
Oh, and what was that phone call?
It was my father. So my dad called me while I was there, and I had maybe just been in this new position that I worked pretty hard to get to.
What was that position, by the way? I know you brought everything together, but what was the
like
official
project
title?
Management. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it only been like maybe a couple months tops. And he calls me and says, hey, I'm going to do something crazy, but I can't do it without you. And my dad, to me, you've met him, you know him, big, sweet teddy bear of a human, like always has people's best interests at heart, including my own, and I know that. So he is somebody I cannot say no to. I can't. So he kind of told me the deal of what he wanted to do, and I put in my 2 weeks the next day. So,
And where did he take you?
so small backstory on that. My dad has worked in the beverage industry for almost his entire career, at least 20 years of it. So he started with a distributor called Western Distributing, whom we know very well. And he was one of the main components that ended up bringing Red Bull over into the western side of the United States through that distributor.
And that was like in the early 90s, right?
Yeah, like late 1990s.
Late 90s, okay.
Yeah, and then
And look
kind
at
of
Red
grew
Bull
through
now.
there. Exactly, massive. Well, and then the problem came with Western, and this happened at once, and it was just devastating for them. Red Bull pulled out because got so big, and so did Miller. Miller pulled out at the same time, which were their two big money makers.
So like Molson Coors Miller? Okay.
Yeah, so Miller
So they pulled out. And it's hard for distributors when big accounts pull out like that.
It's
and then they went with them.
massive.
Yeah.
That was their entire revenue stream for the most part, especially between the two of them. Huge blow.
Do you know what year that was that they pulled out?
I don't remember the exact year. We'll have to ask Larry.
Yeah.
He'll remember.
So
For sure
Red Bull
he'll
and Miller
remember.
take off. He's with Western.
Yep.
And then the company's kind of struggling.
Yeah,
Did he
so
lose
he
his
got to
job
go.
there?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he got laid off.
He got laid off, and then, he had made it to such a big dog level with them, and it's more difficult, I feel, to find a job because, people think you're going to be more expensive, but they don't take into consideration the amount of knowledge that you would be bringing to that role and the relationships and everything else that go into it. They kind of just look at it from the monetary standpoint. So it took him a while of being unemployed before he got a job. And he started...
Let's talk about that a little
Sure.
bit, because I think that is a really, really, really good point, because some leaders or managers or business professionals, owners, whatever, they look at the monetary value of what they need to pay somebody and not the expertise, the experience, or the value that they're going to add.
Right.
And so he had a really hard time finding a job. Was he kind of setting the bar too high as well? Or was he kind of looking for anything?
At that rate, especially once we hit like the 6-month time frame, which for him, who is a workaholic,
Yeah.
he is still working. He's retired and he's still working.
Yeah.
He's still working. He's one of those people. So for him, that was devastating, and that is a huge gap of time for him. And it was definitely something that you could see was making him depressed over time. But he ended up landing a position that made sense with Dr. Pepper Snapple Group.
Okay.
And that was where he kind of made his way back in. And while he's working with them, which he didn't feel, I don't know, it wasn't really lighting a fire for him. He didn't feel super motivated by this job or this company. And so lo and behold, of all people, the crown jewel prince of Dubai. And who I can't even remember his name. Whoever his liaison out here get a hold of my dad. They headhunted him to run GoFast Energy. So my dad
And for
said,
people who don't know what GoFast is, let's talk about that a little bit.
sure.
What is GoFast Energy?
GoFast Energy is an energy drink that was made right here in Colorado. It was founded 25 years ago now. Early 2001, so going on 25 years.
Yeah.
It's been around. It's one of the longest standing energy drinks in the market. Was a staple. They used to have the GoFast games and big athletes, and they built the jetpack and did all this cool, really awesome stuff that was prolific over the years.
And they competed with Red Bull too, right?
Oh, yeah.
You guys did, yeah.
For sure. And they still held up even in a Red Bull monster market.
Yeah.
And gathered what I would still define as a cult following. And we can talk more about that later because I have some silly stories for that, which is also just awesome and a testament to what a great product GoFast was.
Yeah.
But
it still is. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that
Okay.
too. But so they headhunted him. He said, yeah, absolutely. Was working with them for a while. And then whenever the administration at the time changed, it was coming into Trump's first presidency. I don't know what beef they had, but the prince was going to pull all of his business out of the United States if he was brought into office. And so they let my dad know they were going to liquidate everything and just get rid of it. And after everything he had just endured with the Western Red Bull debacle and drama, he was like, well, if you're just going to get rid of it, why don't you just sell it to me? And I'll take it from here.
And was that in 2012? 16?
That was 2016.
16, okay. So if Trump was going to go in, they're going to pull all the money. That brand is going to go to nothing.
Yep.
And your dad had put so much time and effort and everything else into it, and
Yep.
he didn't want to see it dissolved.
No.
So he was like, I can take it over. I can
Yeah.
do it. And do you know about what were the sales at that time that he took over that business?
I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar company, so at the time they were coming up on about $3 million in revenue.
Wow. And that's
Like 2.5
really
to
impressive
3.
for a beverage company.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know it's one of our goals.
Yeah, for sure,
that
definitely.
we share. And it is. There's a lot of stuff that goes into hitting those types of big milestones.
So did he end up having to purchase the business, or did he just take it over?
So he got it for a very, very small fee.
Okay.
So
Very
he
cool.
purchased a business for almost nothing. But
That's
there
awesome.
was purchase in it, which, I mean, you never hear about stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
very rare.
Well, and that's what's cool about every deal. Every deal is different. You never know
Yeah.
what you're going to get. And that's why I love doing deals so much, because and you have to be creative when you're looking at deals.
Absolutely.
And what works for you and the other person. And I always say negotiate with one foot out the door. So it's like, you might want it terribly and you want to get into it and everything, but you kind of got to be like, I'm okay with or without this, no matter what, in a sense. So that's amazing. And then, what came with the deal? Probably the intellectual property, all the formulas, whatever product you had left,
Yep.
any other assets that
Apparel,
came with
stuff
it.
like that.
Yeah.
The company vehicles, like the forklift, all of the warehouse equipment that we utilized, because we did D2C for everything too. So we had a bunch of warehouse equipment, and we had, all the rights to our distributors and things like that too. So all of our ingredients vendors, all of the distribution, all of that came with it.
Yeah, so he takes over in roughly 2016 and then starts running the company. And is that about the time that he called you?
That was the exact day he
Yeah,
called me.
the exact day.
Yeah. And he
How did
said-
you become so special? Because I know you have brothers and sisters.
I know, but I think he knew specifically, especially
You were a
because
good fit, right, for the
yeah,
culture.
I was a good fit for the culture, but also I had a good understanding because he was specifically looking for someone to take over the books that he could trust.
Okay.
And who can you trust more than your own kid? But also, I had accounting experience because everything I was building at Oil Decks was accounting software for oil and gas companies. So I had kind of the insider scoop of how all of the accounting software functions and knowing how things should look within the books, but I still had a lot to learn about what accounting really meant. And so I took that upon myself, and he knew that I would be somebody who would dig into that hard and learn everything I could so that I could perform at the level he expected.
Yeah. What's the number one advice that you have about accounting for other business owners?
Keep it simple. Keep it as simple as possible. Let everything be a perfect snapshot of what things really are, because there's a lot of benefits and whatever, and I think we could argue until we're blue in the face about accruals and things like that to give you a better picture of what the actual cost of something is. But I think being able to see everything for exactly what it is gives you the exact goals instead of something that's kind of wishy-washy or maybe more so a dream than what it actually is.
Yeah, definitely. That's really good advice. And are you, in your mind, are you more top line focused, which is more revenue sales focused, or are you more bottom line focused, which is, net profit, and why?
I think it's hard to be one without the other because both really, really matter because one affects the other.
Yeah.
And it's all just sort of, that direct line of if that, then this.
Yeah.
So I think when we're talking about accounting on like a high level, being able to get into each of those individual accounts and know that you're operating in a space that makes sense is going to immediately affect your bottom line. So if you know that each of your individual categories, everything from like how much we're spending on gas or for the company cars and what sort of maintenance we have on that, and we know that we have that in a perfect box. That's not really going to change on an annual scale unless something wild happens. But we know that our salary and stuff too, we've gotten that down to a very specific percentage, right? Like, I know this speaks to you because you're a very numbers driven individual.
Well, between your fixed and variable costs, for sure.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and taking into consideration the assets and stuff too that you can build off of to create more revenue.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to be one or the other because both matter so much and they both affect each other.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I like that. Because everybody's trying to, I feel like, drive more sales, more revenue, more just, getting out there. But in my experience, I think that they're both right and they work in conjunction because more sales, more revenue, more volume equals a better bottom line. But I do try to focus a little bit more on the bottom line and stay within the margins because it doesn't matter how much revenue you have. If you stay within your margins all the time, you should be able to make money. Yeah. And nobody wants to lose money on a consistent basis. And so being bottom line focused, to me, is more important. That might not be the same way with other people or businesses that are growing or faster or in different industries or anything like that. But I've always thought that being bottom line focused is a better way to do it. And I pride myself in handling the expenses, making sure that everything falls in line, and cutting to where you can be lean and super efficient when it comes to all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
you and I see eye to eye on that too. I feel like running lean will do so much more for you than you can possibly imagine because like frivolous spending will eventually be the end of you, period.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, well, that's good. So you did all the accounting and stuff. What did you have to do or how long did it take you to work your way up? Because I know you became the CEO of the company.
Yeah, so we started there. I was working with my dad, and he, of course, took me under his wing to teach me everything he knows. And he's a wealth of knowledge. Like I said, he's been in that industry for 20 plus years, and he was somebody who started as a merchandiser. Like, he was stocking shelves and then made his way up to being exactly where he was. And, that's a cool story that I have in my family. Like, my dad did that. Ryan did that. Ryan started in the mailroom and made his way up to basically an executive level. And so I had incredible examples of if you work hard, if you put in the time, you put in the effort, you learn, and you never cut yourself off to the people in the room. Because I know everyone talks about that saying, but you never want to be the smartest person in the room. That's a really big one for me. I never want to be the smartest person in the room for real, because I know, I get to surround myself with people like you who have experiences that I don't have, that I can learn from and absorb from, because I'm just a little sponge at the end of the day, for sure. And that is what has helped me to grow myself, too. So I started there with the accounting stuff, learned as much as I could, even made some changes to it so that we were running more efficiently, because I started to see the holes in it when I was learning more from other people. Started to see the holes, plugged those up. That's what a sailor does too. You see a hole, you plug it. And just make things more efficient over time. And then we started to realize that my personal stuff, I'm a creative person. I'm an artist. I always have been. So I wanted to get into the marketing side of things too. And I thought that I could really be a benefit in that area. So I started learning all of the social media aspect. I started learning YouTube. I started learning Facebook, blah, 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 all the things that go into that. And then I started getting into all of the athlete sort of marketing and stuff too, because that is another avenue, especially in the energy drink realm, where you get to do cool stuff like that, work with star athletes and sponsor, and they sponsor back. And so I started getting into that, even apparel and making just cool stuff. And that is something that absolutely lights my fire. I love the aspect of being able to use my creative juices to make cool stuff and then put it out to the world and have them be like, yeah, no, that is cool, we'll like it. Yeah. Yeah, I loved that. So I started taking on that marketing. I grew our Instagram following from 524 followers to well over 35,000 followers.
How did you do that?
a lot of time and effort.
Yeah. And it's being consistent too, right?
It is so much dependent on consistency and engagement with people and collaborating with other people too. Community engagement goes a long way. And now you have like those collaborative posts where it starts to then double your reach to other communities, and they start to get in on that. We bring it in, and just the likes start to and follows start to just stack up before you know it. And as long as you're creating engaging content that falls directly into your niche, and you got to do all the things of the days that you post, what time you post, and getting into all of that, because the algorithms, they change all the time, right? Like, it's a never ending battle of battling the algorithms. But if you stay consistent with it and you figure out your formula, it'll just start to collect speed, gather up.
And then did you see a lot of growth in sales from that too?
Yeah, we did. And the cool thing is, like, you can plug that in, because since we were D2C on a lot of stuff for the whole country, we could monitor how many people were going from any of our Instagram posts directly to the shop and making purchases.
Gotcha.
So that was a great thing that we could actually measure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And what percentage of your business was D2C versus retail sales? Or I guess in your instance, it would be wholesale.
Yeah.
To the retailers, and then the retailers would sell it.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest percentage was always going to be with our distributors, because we were in, all of the chains around the area.
How many different stores were you guys in?
In total?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Well, we had New Age, and we had all of the surrounding state area too. We were in well over 1,000 locations.
And you were probably in how many states?
We were in, by the time I resigned, we were in 7 states, but we were also down in places like Aruba. We had another production facility.
So you were
that was
international.
over in Germany. Yeah, we were international. We had another production facility that we used in Germany, and we were distributing to those. We had 2 distributors out there as well. We're selling to those surrounding areas as well.
And so, and to get back, about what percentage was direct to consumer?
About
D2C?
25%.
So 25%, and 80% was in retail, or 75, which is almost like the 80-20 rule, which is the Pareto principle, where you look at it, and I see that happen over and over in the business, where 80% of your sales come from 20% of your products, and you probably saw the same thing with different flavors and stuff too.
Sure.
And at your height of everything, how many different flavors did you guys have?
We had 6, so 6 different SKUs all together.
Okay. And was the number one the original?
Always.
Always?
The OG.
The OG?
Always number one.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I know that you left that company, and tell me how the company kind of morphed into where it's at today, and what made you leave the company and everything else. And you don't have to get into it too much, whatever you don't want to, but I'm curious to see, your thoughts on how everything went, and dealing with your family, and what made you decide to leave and all that stuff.
For sure. So even before we get to the point of me leaving, like, there was a lot more I was learning. COVID hits, 2020 hits, and we know that is a point where all small businesses are freaking out, and we were no exception to that. So I was the only one going into the office, me and my warehouse manager, Charlie Stubel. It was just the 2 of us, and we were doing everything, knocking everything out, still trying to keep up with orders, which, weirdly enough, and I'm sure we all had that experience with shipping, so our D2C stuff started to skyrocket, and we capitalized on that for ourselves. But it was just Charlie and I in there just packaging up all of this stuff and getting it out as quickly as possible. But everyone saw a big dip when 2020 came around, and then everyone took just a devastating blow, it feels like. Sorry.
Yeah. So everybody took a devastating blow.
Yeah, and
you started doing.
I started taking on a lot more hats when it came to all of that. So we had a different program too, which was unique to GoFast, called the pallet program. So we would work with stuff like Snap-on dealers, all those trucks, and we would sell pallets of product to them, and they would sell it off of their trucks. And we started to amass a pretty big fleet of like Snap-on tool distributors selling GoFast at pallets of sales. And that was huge for us, especially in that big dip that everyone experienced, that helped carry us out and get us back to black.
Did you have to take kind of a profit loss on some of those things?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
decrease your margins and everything just to get product out the door?
Well, and it was tough too because we were seeing increases across the board for aluminum, for ingredients,
Yeah.
for things like that. So things were getting more expensive to produce and people didn't have as much money to spend. So, and I feel like we're almost moving back into that spot right now where we're starting to see the ingredients, aluminum, and everything increase at a substantial rate while everyone is still getting paid the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
and
turns-
inflation is high as well, and
Yeah.
so are interest rates and everything else. So it is hard to navigate, and everything's getting more expensive. And
Oh, yeah.
So it is squeezing a lot of businesses and a lot of people
Yeah.
to try to, stay afloat and keep things going.
Yeah.
Did you have to raise your prices or anything?
We eventually had to raise our prices, but my dad and I made the decision that one of the best ways we felt that we could combat something like that without, really digging into people's pockets more was to do more, we call it guerrilla marketing, where we're out hitting the streets. We're putting cans in hands, because if we just increase volume overall for the people who can afford to pay the lower rate instead of raising the prices substantially, that will make up for the costs that we need to continue producing. And that worked really well for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad that you guys pivoted and were able to kind of solve that issue and make it through COVID. And I know that you guys made it through COVID and you were still thriving and getting back. And a lot of businesses too, took a big hit, and it took a while to get back to, the numbers that they were doing pre-COVID. Were you able to get back to those numbers that you did
We
pre-COVID?
about hit where we were, but we didn't get to exceed those numbers because I feel like it still needed time. And then when we get to sort of the end of where we were, my dad reached retirement age. And, we had the conversation of what do we do? Like, you want to be done? Do you want to take it over? Does anybody else want to take it over? Like, what's the idea? And my thing for my family, because I always put my family first, is I wanted them to be set for retirement. I wanted them to have the nest egg that they worked so hard for and 1,000% deserve. So we came to the conclusion that selling it to somebody who could afford it would be the best option for them to set them up for a retirement that they worked really, really hard to get. And so enter in the start of craziness. Drama. So we get introduced to these guys who end up being the purchasers of GoFast. And of course, they came across extremely business savvy. They have multiple businesses themselves. They're successful. We could look them up, like live in Cherry Hills kind of a deal and whatever else.
Yeah,
so you're like,
one of the most affluent
wow.
neighborhoods in the country.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh yeah, you definitely know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was a really great lesson for myself and my family. Like, yeah, don't judge a book by its cover necessarily. And they had like real estate businesses. They had a CBD company that they had worked with before. And so, they were no strangers to taking on a business and running it. However, we did know that they didn't have beverage industry experience. This was going to be something new for them. But they had been working with our major distributor at the time, who at the time was called New Age. They rebranded it to be called Legacy, but New Age was crumbling. They were going bankrupt. The other side of their business did go bankrupt. The DSD was on the verge of it before they made this purchase.
What do you mean by DSD?
Is just distribution.
Okay.
Because they had multiple other branches in New Age as well. I don't even know if I could name all of them since we only functioned with the DSD, which is a distribution. And they were massive. I mean, they do the entire state of Colorado. They did surrounding area stuff as well. So they were our major revenue stream is New Age. Because they serviced, all of our 7-Elevens, all of our Circle Ks, all of our Loaf and Jugs, XYZ, all the way through. So that was our 80%.
Yeah.
They purchased them. And
so they wanted to take over the brand.
well, their initial their overall plan was, okay, we're going to take on multiple brands. We're going to do everything in-house. We'll have our own distribution. We'll have our own production facility. We'll continue to pump out brands. They wanted to be an incubator in the beverage industry to just continue pumping out new brands.
Okay, and basically take a brand that somebody has somewhat developed, that's got a little bit of volume, that's got a little bit of traction, and take it over, basically buy the brand, distribute the brand, and do all the things that they did before, but they didn't take into account that they would still have to produce, they would still have to run the company, they would still have to do all those things on the back end too,
and they
right?
had to stop the bleeding first.
Yeah.
They had to stop the bleeding on the distribution side first. And instead of making that happen and then, having patience with bringing on the other pieces of it, they continue to try and grab for these pieces to create the full picture while, it's just massive bleed out with the distribution. So what ended up happening is all of GoFast product that we were creating and producing was going to Legacy, and then they were putting zero money back into GoFast. So by the time...
so they were robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then nothing went back to GoFast.
Correct.
And then what ultimately happened to the brand?
So with GoFast specifically, I worked really hard, and luckily I had relationships with people I had worked with for nearly a decade at this point.
Yeah.
And they all believed in that product a lot. And it was a roller coaster of emotions with everything that was going on, because they talked such a big game and they blew my head up and all this stuff, like, oh, you have such great leader potential, blah blah blah, all this big stuff, you're gonna be the face, which actually didn't make me excited, that made me scared. But you're going to be the face of this brand, and you'll be the CEO of the entire conglomerate before the end, and all these nice words, whatever.
So it was all rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, and they were just doing
there.
that to sort of string me along in this, because I had the most knowledge, and I was able to continue to produce, because I would work with my people that I knew, who trusted me and I trusted them. And I know you need product, I need to produce product. What can we do? We'll put our funds together. We'll do this production. You have this allocated amount of product that is going to you as soon as it's produced. And that sort of kept the wheels turning for a little while. But when the distribution is continuing to take more and more product and not put any money back in for that product, it got to the point where the gap between what they owed us and what we could produce, I couldn't even produce anymore, and they owed me over $900,000.
Holy, almost $1 million.
Almost $1 million of just
How long was
completely
this
delinquent.
time spanned?
Less than a year.
Less than a year.
Less than a year before we hit that mark.
And then you saw the writing on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, this is probably not going to be the best fit for me.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I held on, because to me, I was I have put so much blood, sweat, and tears into this brand. I know it's a good brand. I know it can absolutely go the distance. There are few brands who have been around for this long anyways, and it sold itself. You barely even needed marketing.
It takes so much time and effort and hard work to get it to that point.
Period.
And then if you stop it, it's so hard to get it going again, because somebody else is going to come in, or they're going to put something else on the shelf or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's sad, because you lost all that momentum, everything that your dad had worked for.
Everything.
And it's hard. How do you deal with
difficult.
that now with everything?
I mean, so the maybe little glimmer of hope at the
grain
end.
of salt.
Yeah, but the little glimmer of hope at the end of this tale is, while I was working with these other folks in this conglomerate, somebody else was also introduced to me, who ended up being a part of this and also made his exit. His name is Javier Leal. And so
we're name dropping.
We are name dropping, because
Yeah.
God bless Javier. He's an incredible person. He's my age, and he's already a multimillionaire. He is the CEO of a different company now called Golden Triangle. That's a publicly traded company. He saw the potential and knew what was going to happen with GoFast, and he knew exactly what they did to it and how they let it die, essentially. So he made a deal with these other people to take it on. So he now is the owner of GoFast, and he's doing everything he can to make things right with all of the vendors, with all of the distributors, who
And so
also went down with this whole deal.
Picking up the pieces.
He's picking up
and making
the pieces.
it right again.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And so we love to see that. My dad and I both help him out whenever he has questions, whatever else going on, because we still believe in that brand and we don't want to see it die.
Yeah.
And we'll do whatever we can to help him out and bring it back.
Yeah.
And we do have faith that he is somebody who can make that happen. And so we're excited to watch him grow with that. And then, you know, still have a little piece of that, a little piece of myself be in that where I can help him.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how he started with that deal with everything when Trump's getting into office and they decide to sell, and he gets it for almost nothing, and then he builds the brand. It's a multi-million-dollar brand. It's an international brand. It's in, you know, several states in America, and then decides to retire, tries to sell the company, ends up, you know, where the distributor takes all of the money to try to keep that going, and he retires, gets out of it basically, and then you are kind of left in the middle. The brand goes that way, and then I actually think that it all worked out because that led you to coming and joining the Crispy crew.
That's right.
And everything there, and so you have so much expertise, so much knowledge, you know, so much experience in doing all of this. So you have helped me out tremendously in getting Crispy to where it is now. And it's nice because we're still kind of on the ground floor and we're still growing.
Yeah.
As of now, we've hit the market a year and a half ago. We're in over 300 stores now. We're looking at expanding into other states probably next year. And we're going to double our revenue from what we did last year.
Yeah, we are.
And so I kind of want to see kind of what some of your goals are with the Crispy brand, and, you know, use you to see where we can actually grow it and all of that stuff. So do you want to touch on that a little bit?
For sure. I got so excited with all this too, because the most exciting time to have a brand of any kind is in the beginning phases. This is the fun part. This is where there's so much experimentation and we can sort of grow into who we are, and people don't necessarily have expectations that we have to live up to. We get the opportunity to create what that is and what that looks like and what that means and how it represents us. I love this phase of a new brand.
Yeah.
And the cool thing too is this is getting so much traction so fast. Like, to be in over 300 stores when we hit the market in March of 2004, that's an incredible accomplishment. 2024. Yeah. That's an incredible accomplishment for any brand, and especially like in the alcohol world, that's huge.
Yeah.
And it's not to be understated. So where I see us going, like, I feel like if we have more of that guerrilla marketing like we had with GoFast, like the more boots we have hitting the pavement and putting you always say liquid to lips, I always say cans in hands.
Yeah.
Same but different. But the more opportunity we get to do that, when you have a brand that sells itself, like GoFast does, like Crispy does, because it's just that good, like that's all you got to do. Just introduce it to people and it will start to grow substantially. And the other aspect we can do is just hit heavier even in the marketing realm. And like I said, that consistency. Yeah. It's a full-time job to keep up with all of the marketing efforts that really get it the reach that it deserves to bring in more followers, to get more sales. And I really think that in the not too distant future that we should consider doing D2C. I think that will go over really well. And
I would love to do D2C as well.
Yeah.
And get there. I don't know about the logistics with the alcohol.
Right.
And shipping and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the shipping costs and everything. How did you navigate that with the shipping costs with GoFast?
Yeah, so I mean, we had a pretty specific amount that we would ship on a daily basis, and since we would make deals with UPS, we worked with UPS directly for this. They would come pick up all that good stuff. If we had a certain amount of packages, it means that our cost was down to a specific amount. And you can just kind of make these little sweetheart deals with them. Like, hey, we promise that we're going to be shipping out this many packages per year, and we can just sort of negotiate into a cost that makes sense for us and fits into the budget.
Yeah, that actually works. That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to look into DTC, and I appreciate you being here so much. I know that we're going to grow the brand together, and it's going to be great, and we're continuing to do that. So, and our goal for 2026 is actually to double from next year from what we did this year, and I know that you're going to be a huge part of that. And as we continue to grow, hopefully we can give more value to our viewers and to our customers and to everybody around us. So I just thank you so much for being here, listening to your story. I know that you have so many different skills and you give value to so many people, but I think that it's a blessing that I get to work with you, and we're putting together such a great crew. So it really is an honor for me to see this grow as well and see where it takes us, because it really is a long-term play, and who knows where it's going to be 10 years from now. So
Absolutely. I'm excited too.
yeah,
It's
for
exciting.
sure.
Yeah.
So, and one of the last things that we do on here too, if there is one piece of advice that you could give to your younger self or any of our viewers that are thinking about starting a business or getting into, what would it be that you would like to say?
To my younger self,
How?
believe in yourself. Find the confidence within yourself. Don't be scared. There's never going to be a right time. Now is the right time. Do it now. Don't make the excuses. Believe in yourself, and you can do anything.
Yeah, you're the surest thing in the world, right?
That's right.
Yep. So cool. Well, thank you so much for being here, Samantha.
Truly.
Sammy Brown, we'll see her in a little bit. We'll keep growing and doing work together. So
Heck yeah.
appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
definitely. Thanks.
Bless.